What happened in Bucha seems to entirely depend on what different sides want to have happened in Bucha. What actually happened seems to be of little concern. Ukraine and its allies accuse Russia and its allies, Ukraine.
Every day, the news about horror stories becomes more and more delusional. However, the Kiev fake machine won't stop. In order to dehumanize Russia and denigrate it as much as possible, the mad animals from the nationalist battalions and territorial defense forces are ready to kill their own civilians.
At the end of March, Russian forces quickly pulled out of the area. On the 31st, the mayor of Bucha, in a video, announced that the town had been recaptured by Ukrainian troops. He didn't mention any corpses, which, according to Kiev's version, already littered the streets.
Dear friends, dear Buchan community, March 31st will go down in the history of our town as the day of its liberation from Russian forces.
Ukrainian troops entered the town soon after. Grisly images flooded social media. Alleged and disputed satellite images, which Western media claimed to have been shot more than a week before, suddenly showed bodies everywhere. Some near impact craters. Bucha had been under ceaseless Ukrainian military shelling even after Russian forces had left.
The United States deliberately glossed over the fact that after the withdrawal of Russian troops, the armed forces of Ukraine shelled the Bucha city.
Many of the corpses littered around Bucha also wore white armbands, controversial in and of itself. Ukraine claims that Russian forces shot dead civilians who cooperated with Russia or apparently showed support. Some of the victims had their hands tied, again, with white cloth. Ukrainian nationalists themselves had commented on the hated armbands, saying that they justified shooting at anyone wearing them.
These armbands are used by the invaders themselves as an identification sign during fighting. Therefore, Ukrainian defenders may confuse civilians with Russian invaders.
Factor in that Russian military rations were also scattered around many of the bodies, indicating that they had been given them by Russian troops just before, and this is what Kiev claims: they shot them dead. Worth mentioning is Ukraine's collaboration law, enacted recently. Any Ukrainian civilian who is deemed to have cooperated with Russian troops and presumably worn a white armband faces 15 years in jail. That is, if they survive arrest by Ukrainian troops. Under these nonsensical circumstances, what hope does the UN's call for a fair investigation have?
It is vital that all efforts are made to ensure there are independent and effective investigations into what happened in Bucha to ensure truth, justice and accountability, as well as reparations and remedy for victims and their families.
Fair words in unfair times. Given the war and the unprecedented level of propaganda and disinformation in the media, many have already made up their minds.
The pictures from Bucha testify to the incredible brutality of the Russian leadership and those who follow its propaganda.
Facts, truths, evidence and culpability are things of a now-dead era. In this new age, emotion and interest establish guilt, and atrocities, sadly, have become sickening spectacles where the judge is he or she who shouts loudest.